Welcome, everyone, to another entry in the Hyrule Compendium. And we got another theme week going on over at the site. And we're talking about the flaws of our favorite Zelda games. We had kind of a disappointing video in our previous compendium where you didn't give up quite enough flaws of your favorite game.
Yeah, I think, the reason why I think A Link to the Past is the greatest video game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's as close to flawless as it gets.
I somehow turned it into a positive, talking about my flaws of A Link to the Past.
So we're gonna give you guys a little bit more. We're gonna talk about the flaws of Oracle of Ages.
One of my favorite Zelda games.
A game you fought super hard for on our definitive ranking of Zelda. And I've been playing through it recently too, so I've got some fresh thoughts about it. So right off the bat, playing this game, the first thing that comes to mind is, this is a thing we talk about a lot, but the intro of the game takes a long time, I think, relatively speaking, to get into like the good Zelda stuff.
There's a lot of text early on.
Yeah, they try to put a lot of story into the world, into the Game Boy world, because at this point Zelda has now shifted historically, and I think they're going bigger on their stories. And it has a cool story, I will say, but it's just too much text right there in the beginning.
That opening scene in particular, it's like 5 minutes before you get to play, really.
Yeah.
It's one of the bulkier super intros. I mean, like the first really, like you move 5 screens and then there's a 3-minute cutscene to start the game, which doesn't seem like a lot, but at the time, I think it just felt like a lot.
That's why I said relatively speaking too, because it's like if you compare it to like the Wind Waker or something, it's like obviously that's a bit longer, but just text is like it's a little much.
Yeah, I will say that I don't think it lasts too long. I think once you're 10 minutes into the game, you are playing a full video game at that point. I don't think it's not like a 45-minute intro sequence, sort of like Twilight Princess kind of is.
Yeah, like I said, it's not compared to like something like that.
Okay, I will acknowledge that as a minor flaw.
To compare a game of its type to it is like Link's Awakening, which has a lot of build-up-ish, relatively speaking, again, before you get to the Tail Cave.
Yeah.
But in that, it's like you get a little bit of text, you get to go find your sword.
Yeah, you're immediately on a quest, really.
Yeah.
Where's your sword? Because you get your shield right away. It's got that cool intro music, too.
I love that song.
Yeah.
And then once you get your sword, it's like you still have to do a little bit of like overworld stuff before the dungeon, but you're now going into the forest, you're doing some combat.
Right.
So there's like some stuff going on.
Oracle of Ages, I mean, you immediately go between the two ages. You go to the Black Tower, you get the shovel, and you get the seed satchel. You get a lot of stuff, actually, early on. But there's that bulky intro cutscene, and then there's that long text scene with the Mako tree early on where she gives you the seed satchel.
Yeah. Like I said, relatively, it's actually not that much, but for what it is and what I'm expecting is like, I just want to get to playing the game, you know?
Right. So, one of the flaws that... I feel dirty saying that. But
you have to do it.
Yeah, I think Oracle of Ages a little bit, it suffers from, I'll call this Twilight Princess syndrome a little bit, where instead of getting new items in some of the later dungeons, you just get upgrades of your existing items. So, example, I think in Crown Dungeon, I believe, you get the switch hook, which is, or no, not in Crown Dungeon, you get that in Skull Dungeon, the 4th dungeon.
You get it right.
A few dungeons later in Jabu Jabu's Belly, you get the long hook. It just goes the entire screen instead of only half the screen. I always like getting a brand new item and like, ooh, like what can I do with this? You know, and it's something to use against regular enemies to see what new effects it does and whatnot. And it kind of loses that a little bit.
Another reason it's less exciting is it's like not inherently obvious that that's the limitation. Like you're like, oh, there's holes, I can't get over these. But then later you're like, oh, I can jump over the holes. Like it with me with the long hook, it's kind of like, am I doing something wrong? Like do I have to go a different way? Like, why is that thing I can normally switch hook to, like, too far? you
Right.
know?
In Spirit's Grave, the first dungeon, you get the power bracelet. In the 8th dungeon, the Ancient Tomb, you get the power glove. So the last 2 items in the game are both upgrades. There is a large inventory, but there's a significant number of just flat out optional items in this game that you never need
Yeah.
to really acquire. And perhaps if those were more focal points of the game, it would be nice. But
Not a lot of the music made it to our, like, top list when we did one.
there's some really annoying tunes. I think Crown Dungeon, the 5th dungeon, is notorious for being a pretty awful theme. Go listen to it again. You'll be like, "Ugh."
To be fair, I haven't even really been playing it this time with sound on.
There's a few okay ones, but it does suffer from, I think, the limitations of the hardware. This is sort of piggybacking off of my previous flaw. So you get 5 different types of mysterious seeds in this game.
No, mystery seeds is a type of seed.
I think.
Are they called mystery?
No, they're called. You have 5 different types of seeds.
Yeah.
Spiritual seeds. There's something like weird name like that. But
Sure.
the Pegasus seeds are clear. You know what you're doing with those. The Ember seeds, you know what they're doing. And then the other ones, it's like I don't really know when I'm supposed to use them. When you're using the seed shooter, for example, it's either an Ember seed or any of the other 4. And sometimes I felt they could have had a variety of usages of them. I think the game has a few good bosses, but I feel some of them drop the ball a little bit. I'm not too excited about, like, in particular, the boss of Wing Dungeon is the head thwomp. I guess it's unique. It doesn't do it for me. Every time I'm playing that dungeon, it's like, ugh, I gotta fight head thwomp.
It's a little annoying only just because it's like, you know what to do, and it's just like kind of, I don't know, it's not a challenge, it's just an annoyance more.
I also feel that Smog, the boss of the Crown Dungeon, the 5th dungeon, it's one of those ones that you gotta get the right strategy to make it work. But it's okay. Some of the bosses I feel are a little repetitive too. There's 3 bosses that use the seed shooter to beat them. Some decent bosses, but I think it's comparable to most Zelda games on the weaker end of the spectrum.
Let us know the flaws of your favorite game, because we've done this video before, and I'm sure people got plenty of gripes with Oracle of Ages.
I got one more flaw.
Okay.
Getting all the rings and the RNG is a bit tedious.
Yeah, you don't have to.
This is a very deep cut, but I'm like if you want to get specific rings, like, oh, you can only get these from a nut, from planting a gacha seed, a gacha tree, or from running in the maple, and it's like it could take a very long time to get specific rings.
You're just asking for it at this point, though. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Check out our other videos. Let us know some of your favorite flaws of your favorite games. Favorite flaws.
Your favorite flaws.
I love me some good flaws. And thanks for watching.